and we'll get started. All right, guys, so let's dive in, and I'm excited to have you guys here. I promise to make this worth your time, and we're going to dive into how to generate an additional 300K in GCI over the next 12 months without having to work at 80 hours a week or have 10 plus years of experience as an agent to put these things to work. And so, really, we're going to focus in on a four-step plan executing over the next 12 months that we have seen as a consistent pattern with top producers that we've had the pleasure of working with really since 2018 in our local market here of Tampa Bay, Florida. But really also patterns we've seen with top producers all over the country out of the 125 real producer franchise territories that we also have built our networks with. What you're looking at right now, though, on the screen is, in my opinion, the motivation, one of the big motivations behind our community and what we're committed to doing and making a difference with. So these numbers that you're looking at right here are local to the Tampa Bay market. This is Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco County. Most of you on this call are Tampa Bay based from what you shared earlier. You may or may not know that there's about 23,000 licensed real estate agents in those three counties. This was numbers as far as 2024. We will have our full data for 2025, and we'll be working with that data for all of 2026. So we look at these lists on an annual basis. Obviously, agents come and go throughout the year, but about 23,000 licensed agents is what was in the market over the last 12 months. What's a pretty big number, in my opinion. 10,000 or so of those agents did zero deals, according to the data. About 6,000 more did two or less. That would give you one, right? One or two deals for the year. So to be in the top 5,000 producing agents, let's say in this market, which would put you in the top 22%, you had to make sure your business was operating at least five deals or more to be in the top 500. These are some average numbers. Based this really on sales volume as far as rankings. To be in the top 3,000 producing agents, you'd be really looking at trying to make sure your business is doing 10 or more deals a year. And to be in the top 1,000 real estate agents in the market, really you're talking about the top 4% now of real estate agents, you'd be looking at an average of about 20 deals annually or more would be the goal. Now, you may or may not be familiar with the platform that I run and operate in Tampa Bay, which is called Tampa Bay Real Producers. And we have built that platform partnering with the top 500 producing real estate agents in this market. That same business model is what's used in about 125 other markets, by the way, throughout the country. 15 or so of which are here in the state of Florida, Sarasota, Orlando, Jacksonville. We have Palm Beach County, just to name a few. But in these different markets, we specifically partner with anywhere between the top 300 to top 500 producing agents in the market. And what the numbers are that we see every year is about an average of 40 deals to be in the top 2% of agents in your local market. And if you really want to be competing with the best of the best, the top 100 producing agents, this was last year's data, averaged 58 transactions last year. Now we're talking specifically about agents here in the Tampa Bay market. So that's less than 1% of the total agent licensed count in our market that are doing over 50 deals a year and are the top 100 producing agents in the market. So I don't know how you feel when you see these numbers. I am curious where some of you might fall. I know that you guys shared the chat earlier. I'd love to see some of your bravery. If you're willing to put in the chat, where do you fall on that list? You don't have to say your exact number if you're not comfortable with it, but I'd love to get a feel for where you see yourself on that list, because this is just numbers, right? This data could be pretty impersonal, but you can make it personal when you start realizing these are names, these are people, these are families that are dependent on the income that we're supposed to be generating as real estate agents. Where do you see yourself falling on this list? Top 100, top 500, top 3,000, top 5,000. Mary says she's in that top 5,000 audience right now. Don is in the top 10% right now, which is a win for sure. Um, there's a couple of you I know on this call who are just getting started. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. We want to make sure you get the right support and mentorship so that you could be a top producer, hopefully sooner rather than later in this business. But I want you to think about where you fall in that ranking. Because again, these numbers, they're just numbers. They're just data. They don't mean much other than the meaning that you give it. But when I look at these numbers, I see an opportunity in our industry for more productivity, for more production, and for individual agents to be getting what they became an agent for. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many agents who are in that 23,000 count who what I would call are the friends and family agent, right? The F&F agents, the people who got licensed just because they basically wanted the ability to earn a commission on their next door neighbor's, deal or their friend and family deal. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the things that many people appreciate about real estate is there's not a huge barrier to entry. Most people can get a license if you're just willing to take your test and study and get your license. And it is what it is, right? Other people hate that fact, by the way, of real estate is because there's not as much quote unquote professionalism through some of those agents who are, as far as what they're bringing to the table. But if you stay focused throughout the rest of this group, I'm going to give you guys a couple benefits for that. This particular topic and this call is not really designed for what I would call your F&F agents, right? This is not for those friends and family or fair weather agents. This is truly content designed for agents who are committed to being top producers. If you are not yet, but you know you're committed to wanting to be, then this call is definitely for you. If you already are a top producer and you want to maybe just make a couple of tweaks or look for that extra edge to be able to take things even higher, I can guarantee you that we can touch on that, and this call could also be for you. Or maybe you're even a team leader or a broker who's looking to recruit a team, and you want to make sure that you have systems in place and different principles and philosophies in place to develop your top producers. And so, of course, if that's you, then this also can be for you. As a little free gift for being on the call, by the way, if you want to scan that QR code, it'll give you access to our online community, which is called Top Producers Nation. We have an online community in the platform called School. You can also just go to TPN, Top Producers Nation, school.com, which is SKOOL, and you'll have the ability to join the community there. It, for right now, is a free community for agents literally in any market to join. We have online resources. There's a course in there to help you with some of these principles that we're going to dive into today. And more, there's a weekly training call that we run every Tuesday at 12 o'clock with top producers that you guys can join and listen in and ask questions if you'd like. So there's a lot of good resources that this community brings, and you can join it as a gift just for being on the call here today. By the way, this is very soon going to be changing to a subscription-based community. So it gives you a little motivation to join now, because if you are already in, then you will be grandfathered in, and you will not have to pay to maintain status, at least for a while. I can guarantee that for at least the next year. How about that as a promise? But we will be changing this to a low ticket, low cost. It'll be less than $100 a month for agents who are wanting to be in this community. But if you want to get in for free, you can join it right now. And then I have one other gift for you, by the way, at the end of our call today. So let's get rolling here. I may or may not know all of you. I recognize some of the names that are on our call right now, but let me just give you a very quick understanding of who I am, what my role is, and why what I'm about to share with you comes from a place of some experience and a place that I feel blessed to be able to gather it from. And so my name is Don Hill. I am the founder of Tampa Bay Real Producers. that is a franchise that is part of a parent company called Real Producers. We have about 125 different markets across the country. We founded the Tampa Bay franchise back in 2018. This is my family that you're looking at right now on the screen. I'm committed, of course, to doing whatever I can to provide the best opportunities and value for my family. I have 6 kids, 4 girls, 2 boys, all under the age of 11. We're big sports fans, baseball fans. My daughters are involved in dance. The Tampa All-American Dance Academy on Dale Mabry, if any of you have dancers in your family. And my lovely wife, her name is Lauren, as you can see there on the screen. So just a little bit about me. These are some pictures from our Tampa Bay Real Producers Network and community and events. We host over 40 events a year right now within Tampa Bay Real Producers. These events most of them are private events for the top 500 producing agents in Tampa Bay. Um, these top 500 change every year as we look at our data, and it's based on sales volume. So in order to be in the top 500 in our market, our local market, over the last 12 months, an agent would have had to do about $13 million in sales for the year to be in the top 500, which would mean in this particular community that we have of top producing agents. And we put on pretty big scale events for this community, including an annual awards banquet we've done for 3 years in a row now, called our Agent Choice Awards event. Some of you might have heard of that or voted even for people who have been nominated as finalists. We host monthly educational panels over at Whiskey Cake at International Mall on the third Thursday of each month. That is an open invite, by the way, if you are to any of you as agents who are local in this market. If you'd like to go to TampaBayRealProducers.com, you can register for free for any of our educational panels and learn from the top producers in the area. In fact, next Thursday is our next one, and our topic next Thursday is on how to utilize AI, artificial intelligence, as a strategic partner in your business. So if you'd like to come and learn more about that, go ahead and register at TampaBayRealProducers.com. Just click on events. We host monthly masterminds where we bring together 12 of the top producing agents in the market. We meet at the Center Club in Tampa every month on the second Thursday. And I've been blessed to have the opportunity to network with this audience, to learn from this audience. About 3 years ago, we started a podcast called the Top Producers Nation Podcast. We've now produced over 130 something episodes. We produce a new episode every week. If you're interested in getting more content and really just hearing the stories of the top producing agents in the market, you could subscribe at any of your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, you name it, and just search for Top Producers Nation. You can also follow our YouTube channel. I would love to have you subscribe, and you can follow that actually at our Top Producers Nation channel or our Tampa Bay Real Producers channel as well. These are some of the top producing agents here locally in Tampa Bay that you see on the screen that we've had on the show before. But the principles that I'm about to dive through, and here are some more here. I can go through names and introductions, but I'm going to save some time and just get started here. But the point is that the problem that we identified earlier started to become more prevalent and eye-opening for me year upon year as I looked and compared what the average real estate agent is doing, right, in our local market. And truly, I found this to be the same pattern everywhere in the nation, right, compared to what the top 500 or even top 100 producing agents would do in terms of volume. And then I started to dig a little bit deeper about, well, like, there's got to be some patterns here, right? Is it truly just luck? Is it truly just, and we're going to touch on some of what I would call the myths behind top production in a second. But I started to identify, and honestly, a lot of this came from the 1,000 plus interviews now that we've done on the podcast as well as in our magazine. We produce a monthly magazine where we interview top producing agents and we tell their stories and their background. You can find that as well at TampaBayRealProducers.com. And so over the years, since 2018, we've interviewed over 1,000 top producing agents, brokers, team leaders, individual producers, some agents that literally are top producers in their first 12 months in the business, others that took them 10 years to be able to become a top producer in the business. But we started to identify what I would call four principles, and I, saw this framework, establishing as throughout the course of all these interviews. And so these four principles is what I'm going to really focus on here on this call. And it's the implementation of these four principles is what would get you. I don't care whether you're a brand new agent who literally you just got licensed yesterday or you've already been in the business for 20 plus years. If you execute and implement these four principles, you will see an increase in your business. And that 300K in GCI to me is a conservative number. I mean, if you do the math, you're talking about a $10 million volume production to earn 300K, right? In GCI. And on the low end of the numbers that we've seen for the top 500 producing agents in Tampa Bay, most of the time, like I said earlier, an agent would have had to do well over $10 million in annual sales volume to even be in the top 500. Last year, the cutoff was just over 13 million. The year before that, it was closer to 15 million. So we've never seen it any lower than 10 million in annual sales volume. So the idea of executing these four principles, converting that into a $10 million boost in your business minimum in volume would generate an additional 300K in GCI for you moving forward. So what I started to do is I started to write ebooks and I started crafting these lessons and patterns. I don't know if you guys are familiar with my uncle. His name is Napoleon Hill. I'm just joking. He's not my uncle, but probably a very well-known author. Wrote the book Think and Grow Rich back in the 1920s. Has written Outwitting the Devil as another one of his popular books. But Napoleon Hill became famous for interviewing the most successful people of his generation. The Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the J.P. Morgans. And he was looking for specific patterns, things that he can package for mass production, right? That he can distribute to the masses to help them learn from these elite wealth generators. And so I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I always had a similar interest in my business opportunities that I've been exposed to over the years. I didn't give you guys a ton of my background. I'm not going to dive into that right now, but I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old with about 5 or 6 different businesses over the years that I've had the pleasure of learning from and developing different systems through. But I really have loved this idea of finding the best ideas, identifying the best patterns, and being able to package them in a way that are easily digestible for people to implement. And so I put together this ebook called The 4 Principles of Top Producers. This is something that you can find, by the way, in the school community. I also wrote an ebook called Why Every Agent Should Be Using a Marketing Funnel. And so once again, we'll touch on this a little bit during these 4 principles. And then there's a third one that I put together called Why Most Agents Fail. So these 3 ebooks are something that we have in our community and in our platform that if you're interested, feel free to reach out. I can make sure you get access to them. All 3 of them have some takeaways that I think would impact you as a licensed real estate agent. But I mentioned earlier that I've also identified patterns, and a lot of these are thought patterns that I would call myths that hold back a lot of real estate agents. Because even though I've spent the majority of my time over the last 8 years especially working with, interviewing, networking, collaborating with the top producing agents in Tampa Bay, I've also spent a decent amount of time with your everyday agents in Tampa Bay, listening to them, asking questions. What are their pain points? What are they struggling with? And I can tell you time and time again that these myths that I'm going to hit on right here kept coming up over and over again. And I want to make sure that I can at least address them with you and then hopefully help you overcome these throughout the rest of this call. Myth number one is the concept that top producers are lucky or that they simply have huge networks, meaning maybe that's why they're lucky, right? Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a massive personal network and you get licensed as an agent and you can tap into that network, you'd be a fool to not think that that's an advantage. Nobody's saying that it's not. Nobody's foolish from that perspective. But I can also share with you time and time again many agents that I've interviewed who had absolutely no networks, but in their first full year here in this market, let's say in Tampa Bay, they were able to still go from zero to hero and become a top producer in the market within, say, a 12-month span. And so if it was truly about the size of the network to be able to get started, how would that be possible? And I can give you a lot of examples. Josh Volt is one name that comes to mind. You guys can look him up. He's been featured by us before in Tampa Bay Real Producers. Came from Buffalo, didn't know anybody here in this market. And Josh, in his first full year in real estate, did over $12 million in business, just simply grinding, not necessarily implementing all four of the principles that I'm going to walk through, but he did a great job of implementing at least the first couple of them. And so if you're on this call and then you have the mindset that, you listen, I just don't know if I can ever compete with top producers. I don't have the network that they have. I don't have the connections that they have. I'm not saying that that's not an advantage, but I would challenge that thinking because that is not the reason why they are top producers. It's not that in and of itself that makes them a top producer. The second myth I want to make sure I address is that you don't have to simply work more hours or have more years of experience in order to be a top producer. There are many, many examples of agents who work hard 40, 50, 60 hours a week, maybe even 70, 80 hours a week, but they're still just grinding the business and they're trying to figure out why they're still not where they want to be. Yep, and some of you might even be able to relate to that on this call. I know I can relate to it in my years of business over the years. I also can share with you that there are top producers that I've interviewed over the years who are consistent top producers who are working less than 20 hours a week in their actual business. And some of you might look at them and say, how is that even possible? What is going on that they would be able to pull off the level of production that they're doing and putting in what seems to be a much lower amount of input than what I'm putting in? And all I want to challenge you about today is if you've heard from your broker or your team leader, now don't get me wrong, if you're an agent who's simply lazy, you're not willing to pick up the phone, you're not willing to talk to people, you're not willing to work, nobody's going to be able to do much with you and help you grow to the next level, including our systems. But the answer to growth, the answer to a breakthrough isn't always, in fact, I would say is not even the most important factor, is simply the number of hours that you're putting in or even the level of experience that you bring to the table. And I've just seen too much evidence of the opposite to believe that. And then the third one I want to address is this thought that you can't dominate this market. If you're under the mindset that the market is going to determine, or the leads that you're given, if you're on a team or a brokerage, or some people might even want to blame the social media algorithms that are constantly changing, right? Anything that you start identifying as the thing that's outside of your control, as the reason why you're not where you want to be, the more that you start looking at those limitations, the more that you get to keep them. One of my mentors taught me many years ago that if you continue arguing for your limitations, then you will get to keep them. And so I can share with you, even just in the time that we've been running Tampa Bay Real Producers, but looking back among all the cycles that this market has seen, that this Tampa Bay market has seen, and all the way back to early 2000s, agents I've interviewed who started in the 90s, I've interviewed agents who have been licensed since the late 70s, believe it or not, here in Tampa Bay. and the lessons that they can tell about the ebbs and flows of the market. Of course, there's opportunities to pivot based on what the market is doing. And sometimes that strategy does need to change depending on the strategy that you're committed to at the time. But your mindset should always be that the market is not going to be the reason why I'm successful or not. Now, this might sound simple, but if you look at the data, the vast majority of real estate agents who literally leave the industry year in and year out are the ones who blame the market or consider the fact that it's the market as to why they can't be successful. Many people obviously even get into real estate just because they think it's a quote unquote good market. And maybe they do a couple deals for a year and that's it. So I needed to at least set that framework that these myths, if you're holding beliefs about any of these three things and they're holding you back as a top producer or as a wannabe top producer, I hope that by the time we're done here today, we can start thinking and start implementing in a different direction. All right, so let's dive in. That was a little bit of an introduction with some important context, especially revolving around those myths, to lead us to these four principles of top producers. And by the way, the chat is working. If you would like at any time to make sure that you have questions as I go through this, I'll try to be able to monitor the chat and see if I can respond to anything in there right now. Let's dig in, though, to our four principles. And remember, these four principles are patterns that have been identified from thousands of agents and the success that they have brought to the table. So the first principle is what I would call clarifying your USP, clarifying your way or who you serve in doing business. If you're not familiar with the term USP, it just stands for unique selling proposition. Key word there is unique. What is it that is going to separate you as a licensed real estate professional in Tampa Bay from the other 23,000 licensed agents that are in this market? When you meet somebody in the elevator, at a cocktail party, at a business networking event, and they ask you what you do for a living, and your answer is, I'm a real estate agent, or I sell real estate. Is that your answer? So I would encourage you to think through that and have a better one. Okay. But my point is if you're not really contemplating and more importantly, delivering a value proposition that sounds different, that sounds like you offer something unique in the real estate game, you are missing the boat when it comes to your USP. And many times this simply starts with knowing who it is that you serve. And there's immense power in being the specialist in any business rather than the generalist. I think all of you would probably agree that you're not going to want to bring, your loved one to a surgeon if they need some very complicated brain surgery. You more than likely are not going to bring them to some general doctor to do that type of operation, right? You're going to bring them to somebody who specializes in brain surgery, hopefully the best of the best, to be able to treat your loved one. And with real estate, considering that it is the biggest asset for most buyers and sellers in their portfolio, probably the biggest investment, the biggest purchase that they're going to make for the majority, if not their entire life, wouldn't it make sense that they would want to make sure that they can put that trust into somebody who is a true specialist and knows their thoughts, their pain points, their fears, and what it is that might hold them back? So whether you're somebody who has a specific niche, this is why I asked this question earlier in the chat, but again, what is that simple USP that you serve better than anybody else? There's a top producer recently who we just had on our podcast. Her name is Lorette Vosloo. Lorette is some of you might know her, top producer based out of Pinellas County. And Lorette, when I think about her USP, does a great job of serving the senior living community. Her resources, Her ability to connect with that particular audience is because she obviously cares about that audience for specific emotional and personal reasons. But Lorette has built over now case studies, testimonials, all of these things, of course. But the point is that she has a specific USP serving the senior living community, which when someone in that community has a real estate need and they have any sort of a network that would be in this space with real estate, they're going to find a way to tap in with someone like Lorette Vosloo. Of course, she's not the only one serving that community, but whether that would be the first time homebuyer community, the veterans community. For many agents, this could simply be a geographic USP. Maybe you live in a neighborhood that you just absolutely adore and you want to serve your neighborhood at the next level. And so your themes, your branding, your marketing, your positioning, everything revolves around the community. You know, of course, in your trainings with your brokers and team leaders, you're probably taught the importance of farming and why farming is a successful approach, a successful way to go about it. And that is true. Farming is just another word for having a USP to that specific geographic area. But the USP can be a lot of different things. It could be demographic specific, it could be geographic specific. The USP could also be actually in how you position yourself through a marketing channel. We'll talk about this a little bit, but the way that you attack a certain social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, maybe even LinkedIn or Facebook. These are just examples of how you can literally build a USP through a specific social media channel that makes it unique and helps you stand out because of the way you approach just that particular channel. Or it could be another type of marketing, method, such as open house programs. I've interviewed many agents who have literally grown their entire business and still thrive through like a very customized and strategic and intentional open house program and campaign. I think of other agents who really crush it with events and the importance that events can play. We just had Courtney Welch, another top producer here on our podcast last week. And the majority of our episode with Courtney was talking about her event program and how it runs and what types of planning have gone into it and how they execute it for new prospects and existing clients. So her USP has revolved around her event approach really for many years now. She's been licensed for about a decade in the business. So if you are just trying to be the generalist, right, the real estate agent for anybody, it's a much harder road to plow. Now, don't get me wrong, you can point out examples of some people who spend a boatload of money on trying to advertise to the masses, right? Radio spots, billboards. There's some good friends of mine actually who have done really well with some of the mass marketing approaches. But if you really get granular about the way that they run their business, even if it looks like from the outside that they're trying to reach the masses with those types of approaches, if you look at the messaging that they're actually communicating through these billboards, through their radio spots, through their TV ads, you tend to find that there's still a unique USP that they're hitting on within. So it's really more of one of these other principles I'm going to touch on, which is our arsenal, rather than the actual messaging. Your USP is tied directly to your messaging, not necessarily always your methods. One of the things that we spend time on, and you can get some insight on this through our school community, is what we call a USP clarity exercise. Just simply spending time on identifying your USP with clarity. There's a series of questions, there's a workshop that we love to put agents through, and it could be extremely helpful in just getting you clear on this particular part of the 4 principles. Here's an example, by the way, of a weak USP. I provide excellent customer service and I work hard for my clients. We've never heard that before, right? Versus a strong USP would say, I help busy healthcare professionals in Tampa Bay relocate smoothly, handling every detail from start to finish. You can see the difference between the specificity of the healthcare professionals, even having a geographic component in Tampa Bay. And so when you meet somebody and you literally have that 20-second opportunity to connect, which approach do you think is going to be more effective in helping you stand out when you're having the opportunity to meet people? We also spend time on what we call our hot seat drill. This is where we literally, just through a process of repetition, drill and practice the idea of your USP drafting statement. And once again, we have content and workshops on this stuff to help it become more second nature. But just like anything else, repetition is truly the mother of skill. And I once had a mentor tell me that I much rather be, the professional who practices so much that they can't get something wrong, rather than the amateur who practices enough just to get it right. Which one would you rather be? The professional or the amateur? Throw that in the chat, by the way. Give me a little bit of feedback here. Would you rather be the amateur or the professional? Which one matters most to you? Your ability to practice and drill until it's in second nature what your true USP is the difference between being an amateur and being a professional. Don't be shy. Throw it up there in the chat. Okay. Our second principle, and then lastly, we have our implementation plan, which we're going to talk more about as well. Once the work has been done and you have taken the time to truly clarify your USP, what makes you unique? What is it that you bring to the table that's different than other people in your industry? We then want to take the time to create what we call VLOs. A VLO stands for a video sales letter. I'm sorry, one example of a VLO, but a VLO stands for a value leading offer. A value leading offer. What is a value leading offer, you might ask? A value leading offer is an irresistible offer that will give value to your prospects before asking for business. So have you ever come across these different landing pages, websites, etc., where you see real estate agents offering VIP buyer tours or free home reports, valuations, market snapshots, neighborhood insider reports? I think of Bonnie Strickland, who is a top producer in St. Pete. She was a big producer in Snell Isle in St. Pete. Many of you I know are familiar with this market. And for many years, Bonnie would create basically her own magazine specifically for the residents of the Snell Isle community in St. Petersburg. And it had all kinds of valuable information included in the magazine. Obviously, it helped brand her, who she was and why she loved her community. She also was a resident of the neighborhood. But the point is that she was creating, and she wouldn't have necessarily called it this, but she was creating a VLO, a value leading offer, providing value to her prospects, her community, and that positioned her in a certain way to be viewed by that community as somebody who was serious and who obviously understood their neighborhood and their needs. And let's never forget that your customers, your prospective customers, are always going to respond more to value rather than vague service promises. Even just on this call that you guys are on right now, there's people on this call who might, when we're done here, probably about 15, 20 minutes, maybe about 20 minutes or so we should have left. When we're done on this call, we may or may not ever see or work with any of you again. But I would hope, and I'm confident, that if you just simply take these four principles to heart and you start digging in deeper and start putting some strategy around them, you will find an immense amount of value, possibly even business changing value. And that, to me, is why we lead with value. We want to make sure, no matter what experience you have, and you should be making sure, no matter what experience a prospect has when they come in contact with you, that they are left with value first before the thought of asking for business ever even comes up. Let's not forget that. So VLOs is a key part of being able to make that happen. There's a lot of different examples of VLOs. that we work with agents on through our community and through our different programs. There's so many different ways to deliver the VLO. And so that would be a whole workshop topic that we can dive into on one of our Tuesday afternoon calls. But just understand the concept for now and how that's designed to work. The third principle that we want to hit on now, and this is usually the order where agents screw this up, is what I would call crushing your marketing arsenal. So we have clarifying your USP, we have creating your VLOs, value leading offers, and then the third is turning on the gas, what I would call crushing your arsenal, your marketing arsenal, so that whoever you want to be in front of, whoever you want to be aware of what you do, sees it anywhere they are. That doesn't mean that you have to have an unlimited marketing budget, by the way. Okay? There's so many different approaches and different ways to almost feel like you're everywhere, specifically, though, to your target audience, to that USP that you're looking for. And so, crushing your marketing arsenal, we, of course, dig into this in detail during our workshops and within our course and the things that we have for the agents in place. But this is just a list here, and there's more, of course, that I could add to this, but a very basic list of different approaches that agents take to be able to communicate their message to the market. Now, the problem with that most agents have is they make the mistake of spending money and resources on a lot of these different things, and they do it before they've taken the time to actually clarify their USP, create a value leading offer. So basically, they're just marketing themselves and their name and their brand. But let's be honest, maybe you have some people who respond to that because they know you or that your reputation has started to precede itself over time. But most people who are looking to sell a home or buy a home, unless they know you somehow, your name means nothing to them. So the key is to turn on the marketing arsenal with a value leading offer. Having the ability for people to raise their hand because of the way you strategically position this, so that when they see your offer, they're more likely to say, oh, wow, this person understands me. This person's giving me something for free. It's giving me a value add that's going to put exactly what I'm looking for. I was looking for something to help me understand my house value. I was looking for something to help me understand what's going to happen after I move or when I downsize or when I relocate. Whatever it is, as a veteran, what my VA options are. If I'm an investor, what my cap rate return might be on these particular demographics or asset classes. Point is like, no matter what that audience is that you're trying to serve, do you have something that's going to get them to raise their hand? Once you have that in place, you can then utilize these different methods, such as your website. The other big mistake that a lot of agents make, we find, is that they try to do too many of them all at the same time. Now, that could work if you are reinvesting and scaling because you've already made one or two work really, really well and you're crushing it. In a perfect world, of course, you'd want to have all of them going at the same time just because financially they're literally funding themselves. But as we know, that's not the reality for most agents out there. Most agents are dabbling, right? They try a couple of these. It's not working as fast as they want it to work. And what do? They move on to the next shiny object. And by moving on to the next shiny object, they realize, oh, you know what? That's not working for me anymore. Let me stop that and move on to the next shiny object. So it's the complete opposite of how to actually get traction with any of these. And of course, they're also marketing it the wrong way anyway, because they're just marketing their name, right? As a realtor. So once we have the USP, once we have the VLO in place, that's when you can then put an entire campaign around like the content that you put up on your website or on your landing pages, and create specific programs and offers that you can test utilizing the right leverage and software. That's when you can actually run great campaigns and track your SEO optimization through your Google My Business page and work on your Google reviews and have LSA ad campaigns. All of these things are things that we help agents with but we want to make sure we're doing it the right way, strategically. Another example is the power of things like YouTube, right? I've found that there are so many different ways and platforms for agents to be wildly successful, but you have to be willing to commit to it once you've done the work for the first two principles. Melanie Atkinson is a name you might be familiar with in South Tampa, a top producer with Smith and Associates, and she has a very successful YouTube channel. And she's built that YouTube channel by first creating a USP around, I think it's called Melanie Loves Tampa Bay. I'm probably wrong on the name of that, but her channel is all about her, like, you know, telling stories and visiting businesses and focusing in on the South Tampa community. Adam Morajan is another top producer that we've gotten our network through and have built a relationship with, and another great example of someone who has been wildly successful with YouTube. In fact, he now even teaches other agents to do the same thing through YouTube. Once you again have taken the time to perfect the first two steps, this is when it makes sense to like turn on the paid traffic. If you've ever heard from people that, hey, Facebook ads don't work or Google ads don't work, don't even waste your money, don't consider it. Yeah, you're right, it doesn't work for most people. But if you want to be a top producer, it will work for you if you do it right and you align your strategies with making sure that every dollar that's invested is creating a return coming in. And there is a right and wrong way to do that. Of course, social media, we already talked about that. The importance of having your organic content being aligned with your USP and your VLOs. There's so many different ways. I don't need to go through every single one. One of my favorite, though, is podcasting. I've been loving it with my Top Producers Nation podcast. It really allows you to be an expert, to position yourself as an expert in the field. So once you've taken the time to clarify your USP and you have yourself a VLO that you know you can lean on and have value in, having a podcast that you can invite guests onto, or even just an individual podcast of just you talking about, very similar to a YouTube channel, right? That there's a ton of power in that knowledge-based marketing world that is out there today. Don't let anybody tell you that the basics of email marketing and SMS marketing and voice drop marketing, that doesn't work, because it definitely works when it's done strategically with the USP and the VLOs being communicated in those types of automations and campaigns. And the same thing as we mentioned earlier for bigger, broader based approaches. Things like direct mail campaigns, billboards, radio. Names like Brendan Rhymes here in Tampa Bay, Katrina Madewell, Andrew Duncan might be names you know. These are names that have built their brands from some of these bigger branded, what I would call guerrilla marketing type approaches. But once again, if you're paying attention, they have specific USPs that they're utilizing in their broader based approaches. We're almost done. A couple minutes left. Cultivating automation. This is the fourth principle. And to me, this is where the fun starts. Well, the whole thing's fun if you're in the business for the right reasons. But once you have clarified your USP, once you have created your value leading offers, and then you've turned on some of the gas to get that arsenal going with the right methods aligned with the first two. Most people who want to be a top producer or already are a top producer, they became an agent because they wanted a certain lifestyle. And think about yourself for a second. Did you become an agent because you were hoping to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week? Is that really why you got licensed? Or were you looking for an opportunity to get involved in something that you were interested in, real estate, homes, community, and hopefully maybe even build financial freedom? Well, what good is financial freedom if you don't have time freedom? And financial freedom is critical, right? That's the first step in this process in making sure that you're generating the level of revenue that you want to be earning. But what we all really want is our time. We want to be able to purchase our time. It's the asset that we can never get back. And nobody wants to invest 80, 90 hours a week when we could be investing time and work, but still putting time into the lifestyle that we want. The only way that I've seen top producers doing this successfully, like the example I shared earlier with producers doing literally spending less than 20 hours a week at times in their organization, but still crushing it, is through cultivating automation. There's so many different ways to automate. I'm just going to share a couple ideas though. There are two different pipelines that there has to have some leverage of automation support, that if you're not taking advantage of this, you're missing out on massive amounts of business. The first is, of course, figuring out how to use automation to market to your what I would call new prospects, right? Or specifically in the marketing vernacular, your A to Z scale prospects. What does that mean? A to Z scale prospects are those, hopefully nurturing leads where A is the coldest lead you can ever get. Somebody who might have just bought or sold a home yesterday. They're probably not going to do it again for a while, right? That's your coldest leads. To Z are the hottest leads, that are the people that are literally searching for you. They're looking for an agent. They wanted to sell yesterday. They wanted to find someone yesterday. Those are the hottest leads you can find. The problem with most agents is that they're basically all fighting over the one Z level lead because they're the hottest leads, and those are the ones that are popping up on Zillow and Realtor and other platforms like that you can buy. There's nothing wrong with that, except if you really want to be different and distinguish yourself, have an automation plan in place so you can be the one nurturing these leads no matter where they are on the pipeline. Because eventually, all A leads eventually become Z leads. Most agents never even nurture those leads, so that by the time they become a Z level lead, they have no relationship at all established with that real estate agent. And this is not as hard to do as you might think. It's extremely hard to do if you're relying on your ability to either remember to nurture leads or to manually have to spend time nurturing leads. And you might think to yourself, well, how do you nurture leads if you're not spending personal time talking to them, calling them, working them? And I'm not saying that you're not going to have any personal touch points during the pipeline, during this timeline. But there are many ways that you can utilize automation so that you can create value leading offers, strategically positioning them in the life cycle of your prospect timeline that adds a ton of value to your homeowners, and to prospective clients who might not have even worked with you yet, so that again, when the time comes for you to work for, I'm sorry, for that buyer or seller to pick an agent, who do you think is going to be the first person that comes to mind? And ultimately, that's what a Z level lead is for. The second group that we want to make sure that we're in front of is what we would call our current clients, right? It's a sad stat where if you were to ask most homeowners who buy or sell with an agent, will you use this same agent again? And the stats that I've seen show that about 50% say probably. But in reality, less than 10% actually do. Now you might look at that and say, well, that they're lying, right? The homeowner or the customer's lying. But in reality, it's the agent's fault, because once the deal is done, the vast majority of agents have no ongoing relationship. Now, that's not the case, though, with many of the top producers that we've interviewed over the years. They do strategically have automation in place. They do strategically have systems in place to help them automate and grow these two different pipelines. So honestly, those are the four principles that we've laid out. And that's about the time window that I told you I was going to share with you, those four principles. If you only take those four principles and we never, ever, ever work with you again, or see you at our events, or you never work in any of our community-based programs or platforms, I hope that just from those four principles alone, if you dig into them, study them, figure out what's going to work best for you, you can see a revolutionary change in the results of your business in time to come. And honestly, I don't care whether you're a solo agent and you have every intention of staying a solo agent. I don't care if you're a team leader who's just really not out of production or in production, and you're just trying to find different ways to support your team, or a broker in the same boat. These principles are true, and they work for any of these roles that you just laid out, that I laid out right there. And again, it's clarifying your USP, creating your VLOs, crushing your marketing arsenal, and cultivating marketing automation. So I told you I had another gift for you here at the end, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that. But before I do, would it be okay with you if I at least showed you one of the different plans and packages that we have in place to support people who are committed to wanting to follow these four principles? We still got a good amount of you here in the chat. Would anybody like to see what that is? Or if not, you're welcome to jump off the call. But it'll take probably about 7 more minutes, and I can show you one of the options we have. We have multiple different programs and packages out there. But anybody in the chat would like to know what the actual plan is that we would put in place to help execute these 4 steps. Let me see here. Mary's giving me a sure. All right. We'll say sure for Mary. Let's see. Anybody else want to know what they are? All right. If you are not interested in any of these principles or any of these implementation steps, feel free to jump off the call. Totally fine. I will be diving into this for about the next 7 minutes, and then I have a free gift for anybody who wants to continue to kind of take this thing to the next level at the end. So we have something that we put together called Top Producers Nation University. This is designed to be a program to help implement these 4 principles for agents who are obviously committed to wanting to be a top producer. So let me just explain quickly what it is. Top Producers Nation University is an online course so that you can work at it on your own time. It's a video lesson course, step by step, to kind of walk you through the implementation of these 4 principles with a lot of different examples of things that you can do. One of the most important examples is what we call a video sales letter. So these are some of the things that you would expect, by the way, in the actual university itself. One is some organic lead training. So as leads are coming in organically and whatever methods that you're using to be able to generate these leads, just some additional training on how to get more of them. Proven principles we found, simple implementation type things, utilizing social media channels, but nothing paid, just free organic sources of generating consistent leads. And honestly, with the stuff that's just in that one section alone, you can be doing over $10 million a year just on that part alone, right? On just the organic lead training. We also, though, have a part of the university on paid lead training. So if you get to a point or you're already willing to invest in your own business and you want to generate paid leads, whether that's through Facebook, Google LSA, optimizing through YouTube. There's a lot of different ways to tackle the paid lead approach. But once again, the effective way to do it is once you've clarified your USP and your VLOs, and now we can turn on the faucets. We want to make sure those paid leads are being tracked so that there is no money wasted, and there's a specific metrics that you're using to make sure that those paid leads are converting. One of the effective tools that we help the agent put together in the university is what we call a video sales letter. So what this means is the ability to convert a simple landing page, a video page, that drives your leads to that video sales letter that allows you to explain in your own words, with your own voice, in your own language, what your true USP is. Talking specifically to your buyer, to your seller, and what it is that's going to be different about working with you compared to somebody else. So we have the training in there of how to build out that VSL. You don't have to be somebody who's high tech to be able to do this. It is literally a step-by-step model that you can just click a couple of buttons. We've taken all of that high tech stuff and figured out how to dumb it down in a simplified format so that anybody can literally just open up a button and it could convert for you as well. Um, in fact, since I have you on the call here, I'll just show you real quick. So this is our marketing automation suite. And where you would find the VSL is literally when you have your account, you would go right here under funnels, sites, funnels, click on agent, and then boom, your funnel's already built there with your templates. All you would need to do would be to simply open up each page and then determine what it is that you would want to put in the page itself. Or we can even do this for you. That's one of our packages as well. So it's already there for you, though, as far as the template. And then you simply just create the actual video sales letter to direct the traffic to. I was going to just open this up here. Um, this is just like a rough example of one that was for one of my businesses. Very simple video sales letter. All you would do, you have a YouTube video, let's say, you click here, and then boom, we'd put the link right in video YouTube. It's plug and play, and it's ready to rock and roll. We can literally have a funnel working within an hour for your particular brand. And so that's part of this particular package. Um, the other things that you would see in this particular university would be your Google My Business optimization, your Google LSA part of this. There's a sales converting training. All of this is videos that you can watch on your own time. You may or may not even want to tap into those things within your first, 12 months or so, or even first 30, 60 days. But we have those built in there for you as well for additional resources on how to take advantage of that social media side as well. Now, we found in general, even though it was, it cost thousands of dollars to be able to put together this course and organize it in the format we have. I didn't want to just create a course and hope that agents would just go into it, log in, and figure it out all on their own and be able to utilize it. And so this particular platform has a ton of support and resources to help you execute the elements of the course. One is we have an online community called Top Producers Nation. This is different, by the way, than the school community that I invited you to earlier. So that is our, free, which will be our low ticket community, is school. Great way to kind of get introductory, basic information. Come on to our training calls. We welcome all of you to do that. But we also have this particular offer, which is what we would call our paid community for our top producers, which has much more individualized segmentation so that if you wanted to be in a community with $20 million plus producing agents, we have private channels where you can literally network with just $20 million plus producing agents. If you are a broker and you wanted to network with other brokers to talk specifically about challenges that brokers face, well, we have a channel specifically for brokers. If you are a team leader and you wanted to be in a network where you can talk to other team leaders, we have a channel for that. If you're an individual agent who is a volume-based agent who likes doing over 100 deals a year, and I think of names that I know well here in Tampa Bay, and ultimately you can have a channel for that. If you're a luxury specialist who wants to network with other luxury agents, we have a channel for that. That's all built into the app. The app is called TPN Connect. You would get a login for it. You can find it on Apple, Google Play, anywhere right now. And you'll have that at your disposal. It's a very simple app to use. It looks similar to this, whether it's desktop or you have your app version. And you can also find calendars of events. You can find invitations to calls. You can find our course, all living in this one place, because I'm a big fan of the belief that proximity is power. So yes, we can give you a university and you can play with it, and a lot of this do right on your own, right through the university. But if you have a community of people who are committed to being top producers and committed to helping and sharing best practices with each other, especially in these specific segments, I've just found that really accelerates somebody's ability to grow. But we didn't want to just leave it there, because one of the things we found is that if you have a great community supporting you and you have the course and the training that you need to be able to actually help you understand what these steps are and how to implement them. We wanted to create the automation, the actual tool itself to execute this for you. And so this package here has what we call the TPN Marketing Automation Suite. I can do an hour-long call on just this part alone, which I'm not going to do. But when I give you your gift here at the end of this call, we can dig into this if you're interested. But this whole software that you see on my screen right now is what the TPN Automation Suite is. It's a literally a one-stop shop for running your entire business. And I do recognize that many of you probably have a CRM that you're already using. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it. But many agents that I've seen have loved the functionality of this particular suite, because all of your conversations can literally be tracked right here in one place. If I wanted to have all of my conversations from Facebook, from WhatsApp, from Google My Business, from Instagram, phone calls, voicemails, emails, every platform that I would use from social media, every conversation can all be funneled into this one streamlined communication tool. It's called your Conversations tab, and you can literally have it all on your app, one phone. It's just so much easier than chasing different platforms. Your calendars also can get synced right here. So once again, appointments that are booked, you literally automated through the campaigns can be put on your calendar, and that can be put right into your Google Calendar, whatever calendar you want. Any contacts that you already have. One of the first things we do for agents is what we call a database reactivation campaign, where we will take your existing contacts, upload them into the system for you with specific tags or segments, and then run a simple automation for you so that you have this existing database that you might be sitting on that could be worth thousands of dollars, and you potentially are not taking advantage of what that database can bring. And we can very easily do that with this one marketing automation suite. It also allows you in one simple view to see where every one of your prospects falls in your pipelines. So one of the things you'll notice here is if I have depending on which pipeline you want to have, and you can have as many as you want, you can see, all right, do these clients, are they under my lead stage? Are they a conversation right now? Am I talking to them? Are they booked on my appointment? Have they been ghosting me? Have they done this action? Have I sent them my home list sent, which could be a VLO? Are they telling me they're not interested? Are they in my nurture campaign? What's the time frame? Have I booked the appointment? So it's all tracked here. I don't want to get too in the weeds with you on this particular call, but I can tell you there's much more that this suite also provides. You can literally do all of your contracts through here. Paperwork can be signed all through here as far as handling payments. One of my favorite things is the marketing part of this. Every social media platform you are on right now, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, you can sync them all right into this one place, and you can literally create a plan. Your social media planner, your calendar can all run through here. Not to mention your workflows. These are the automation side where I talked about earlier, the database reactivation campaigns, and these are all different automations. If you want principle number 4 to be true in your business, marketing automation, this is what that looks like. Where we set up a buyer funnel, we send up a database reactivation funnel, we set up your seller funnel, we set up a recruiting funnel if you want to recruit, if you're a team leader or a broker. Whatever it is that you want to focus on, we have the automation campaigns and templates that would be loaded into your account to make sure you have all that ready. You can even utilize this to host your websites. You can buy domains through this. It syncs with every major, funnel, every major domain host out there, GoDaddy among all the other ones. You can have websites in here. I mean, it's extremely robust. There's support here in the suite. There's also training, of course, for you here in the suite, onboarding training. Hopefully that just gives you a little bit of a taste of what's included. But we didn't want to leave the marketing automation side to chance. That was all part of the build out of this particular package simply because um, we want to really have that freedom, that time freedom, and that's where this automation suite comes from. What's really cool about it as well is that you can get rid of a lot of your other subscriptions. You might be somebody spending a lot of money already on, MailChimp or Constant Contact or other email marketing or social media planners or calendar subscriptions like Calendly, other CRMs. Maybe you're somebody who gets all this stuff provided to you from your broker, which is fine. But if you are a team leader responsible for creating software or providing software to your people, maybe this would be something worth us talking about. The last thing here I'll touch on, and this again ties to the importance of proximity is power, is the idea of having exposure to top producers on a regular basis. So, and this is something you can tap into right through our school community as well. But every week we have a Top Producers Nation training call, and we'd love to have you guys join us Tuesdays at 12 o'clock, where you can learn from different top producing agents weekly on various different topics. These are just some examples of them recently. Building great teams with Tony Baroni, mastering calendar management with Keegan, personality prospecting with Jessica Beggins and the Beggins Group, strategic vendor partnerships with Lei Chang. Every week you can expect that. And then here is our last secret, our last piece of the pie, so to speak, that we put together, and that is the one-on-one strategy call. We've talked about a lot on this call. 4 principles, 4 things that need to be in order strategically to implement and take your business to the next level. But beyond that, many times have you ever felt like you just didn't get that one-on-one implementation help that you needed to be able to really put the pieces together? And so, what I'm going to invite you to do, and this is something we've started doing just to try to see if we can really make a difference and help agents who are willing to spend their time jumping on these webinars to learn a little bit more about what we're all about. This slide, by the way, is just talking about some of my mental thought process of, do I really want to invest my energy into providing this or just continue running my local franchise? I obviously made a decision that I wanted to try to make a difference in this particular niche. So for now, all I would encourage you to do as a minimum would be to just jump on a strategy call. This is the free gift that we were going to offer you for being on the call here today. Scan that QR code or just go to that link that you see there at the bottom. Probably easier to scan the code there. We will put this as well and email this out as part of our recap to our webinar today. But book a strategy call here at the bare minimum. And this will be an opportunity for either myself or one of our team members to just dig in a little bit to your current situation. What goals are you striving for? What's holding you back? What have you tried? What's working? What's not working? We have a pretty extensive network of successful brokers, team leaders, even just individual producing agents who can be great mentors. And so if you're somebody who has liked what you've heard so far on this call and you would like to be involved, I'm going to show you as we wrap up here today that if you were interested in the package that I just threw at you, I'll give you a link that you can go ahead and get started immediately on that package. But even at the bare minimum, this is just a free gift. We're going to give you an hour of our time to kind of dig into your business with you, give you some framework that you can literally leave with. And if you want to work with us and see what it could look like moving forward, of course, that opportunity could present itself on that call. But as a bare minimum, I would encourage you to take us up on the strategy call. And if you're somebody who's like, you know what, I've loved what I've heard. I don't think I need to necessarily look into other things. I'm excited to be able to at least get access to those different, marketing suites and the different components that I just laid down. You can do that by obviously making a decision to do something and take action. And that would be simply through, these are the valuations and everything that I just walked through. But if you wanted to go to tpnuoffer.com and that's where you can find the offer. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat for you. tpnuoffer.com. That's the link where you can literally get started immediately. Once you sign up at that link, you will then get a welcome email with instructions on how to log in to your account, and that would get the ball rolling for everything we've talked about. So if you want immediate access to the university, if you want immediate access to the training calls, if you want immediate access to that marketing suite and start some sort of automation campaigns and start getting things moving, start creating your video sales letter, start building out your VSLs, building out your video, your value leading offers. If that all sounds like, you know what, this is great, I'm ready to get moving, just go ahead to tpnuoffer.com and you can get yourself rolling for one-time investment of only $19.97. That's for an entire 12 months, guys. So 12 months of access to that marketing suite, to the university, to everything that we laid out, the training call programs, the opportunity to the strategy call, of course, is tied into that. That would be our first onboarding call with you, and just, I mean, any of those one pieces alone, some of you have probably spent more than 1997 on like a social media help or campaign or whatever you've done, setting out a direct mail campaign that may or may not have even worked for a one-time investment. So that's not like a monthly subscription or anything. It's just one time, 1997, and we will start get you access to immediately everything. And if you are ready and you're there, feel free to do that. That price, just like I talked about the school community closing, that also will, I can't promise you that'll be open as of Monday, but that is going to be available for you this weekend if you know that you're ready and you wanted to get started. But at the very least, I would encourage all of you to at least book a strategy call, and we could dig in a little bit more with you on that call to put some action plans together. No pressures on those calls. If you don't want to buy anything, if you don't have any interest in investing in any of our programs, that's totally cool. But the call is still there as a value add for you. So instead of talking to you in like a group webinar format like we are right now, the call would allow us to get a little bit more, impersonal with you, dig a little bit deeper into your situation and figure out what it is you might actually need to get things to the next level. So that is the content, ladies and gentlemen, that we have for you today on the call. I hope that the four principles made sense to you. I hope that more importantly, you will implement something, even if it's just one thing. What is one action step that you can take after you get off the call here today that can help you make an impact and make a difference in the trajectory of your business moving forward with your real estate career? If you would like to grab a strategy call with us, maybe that's that one thing. We would love to meet you in person and dig in a little bit deeper to that as well. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll stay on here as long as we have people here on the webinar still, which we do, to clarify anything if you did have any questions that you wanted to ask about. But as a final kind of summary, it all starts with the importance of clarifying the USP. That's where it all begins. Once we get that nailed down and you have a real understanding of how you want to explain that, how you want to deliver that message, we can then create our value leading offers around it, which are going to be the next key in taking that USP to the next level. Tyler's asking, can you put the slide up on the four principles? Absolutely, my man. Let me get there for you. The four principles. Let's go back. Let's see. The quickest way to do that would be to pull it up for you here. Right. Here you go, Tyler. So as I was just saying, it all really does start with that first one, with clarifying your USP. Once that's clarified, we can then really work on building the value leading offers. And you might be naturally talented at like figuring out how to create specific offers. By the way, a great resource to learn from is Russell Brunson. Some of you might know the name. A lot of the content, I should say, or at least some of the content that I'm sharing with you here today, is from some of his psychology of the importance of creating offers in your business, whether it's real estate or any other business that you're in, and how that really separates you. And so he's got some great content out there, great resources out there that can help you create these different steps into your business. Um, don't forget that one of the biggest reasons why agents struggle is that they jump right into step number three. They go right into the whole marketing arsenal approach and they just dabble and they play around with things for way too short most of the time, but because they don't see an immediate return, they get frustrated and they struggle and they quit or they move on to the next thing. But it's really the work done in the first two steps that makes the third step work effectively, and most people skip over those first two steps. And then the lifestyle that we all, I think, desire and want is accomplished through that fourth step, which is the marketing automation. So those are the four principles, ladies and gentlemen. And if they resonate with you in any way, don't be a stranger. If you think we can help you, reach out. Even if we see you on one of our Tuesday calls because you joined our school community, we'd love to have you there and continue learning from our audience, from our group. And maybe we'll see you on one of our one-on-one strategy calls as we figure out the best plan specifically for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be hanging out with my family for the rest of the day and then enjoying the weekend with them as well. So, unless you have any further questions, I know there's still a group of you here on the call. I'll give you a second. If there's anything else I can do or answer for you, feel free to throw any questions you have in the chat right now. And if not, I'm going to be putting an end here to our webinar in just a minute or so. And this is recorded, so you will be getting an email if you wanted to revisit the content that was shared with you here today. Feel free to do that, of course, with what's sent your way. The package discount and everything, if you wanted to get started with that, is available through Monday. So you have the weekend to pull the trigger on that if it's something you wanted to get started with. Any other last questions before we move on? Going once. For those of you who are still on this call, is there one action step that you are planning on taking from the content that you listened to here today? Is there one thing that resonated with you, landed with you, that you're planning on putting to work moving forward? Or do we have some people that are shy and unwilling to share that? Anyone want to share your action plan, action steps, one thing that you think you're going to put to work? Going once. All right, guys, we got some shy people, it looks like, left. It's all good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you nothing but the best. We are definitely committed to the success of the real estate community, not only in the Tampa Bay market, but in markets that we are excited to impact all throughout the country. I think this is a great industry with great people, and you truly make a difference. So I don't want you guys to forget that. The work that you do is appreciated by your clients, appreciated by many people, and you are a driver of the local economy and really our nation as a whole. So I appreciate you and respect you for everything that you put in to making your business work. Thanks for being here today, and you have an amazing weekend, and God bless to all of you. Bye-bye now.